Welcome to Cody in the Cinema. Today I'm examining Now Voyager, the Bette Davis classic, at a time that could not be better for me personally, because for the first time in my life, my wife and we bought a house and we are setting sail for new things. In fact, I broke my camera holding gear here somehow, and I've been working through this movie and trying to figure it out and trying to really wrap my head around what it's saying and how I feel about it and my reaction to it. And as I always do, just a Western came to mind when I was watching Now Voyager. And this is the Western and the character. What in the world does a Bette Davis movie have to do with James Stewart and the man who shot Liberty Valance? I thought about James Stewart, pathetic and grabbing the gun on the ground while Liberty Valance was laughing in his face. And the character progression that this shy, yet ambitious, and ultimately timid character went through when he's matched up against guys like Lee Marvin and John Wayne. And what does he do in this movie? There's a punch, if you've never seen it. He's in this new place, this new area, and he has to find an identity that's true to himself and his own values. And he can't back down from that. I think there's a lot of Now Voyager in the man who shot Liberty Valance and vice versa. And so just as a Western fan, as you can see, I thought about that, because on the surface, this film might feel like a 40s cheap melodrama with a few romantic bits shoved in there because the studio said so. And I'm going to admit to you, I don't love the romantic aspects as much as I do when they really just give me Bette Davis and the other women. And I think that's where the film excels. Speaking of that, I love going through and reading criticism or critiques or anything from critics that I trust, and one that I love. And she has a great article from 2016. Her name is Angela J. Bastian. Angela J. Bastian, my apologies if I'm mispronouncing it. And she has an article on Roger Ebert's website. And she talks about the Medusa eyes, or the cinematic Medusa, excuse me, that was Bette Davis. And here's a quote from her terrific article. Betty demonstrates the full breadth of anger when it no longer seems useful for its protagonist. But Betty understands the way anger propels. Anger can be underscored by the cold ache of loneliness. It can be as hot as the noonday Miami sun. It can simmer beneath the surface of our lives, causing us to quietly rebel until it openly erupts. And boy, does it erupt in that fateful scene with her mother, when her mother finally has too much stress, almost self-induced, almost a martyr's death of her own making, toward the latter part of the picture. And that is what this movie's about in part number one, a generational conflict between a mother and a daughter, but also just a conflict of a poor mother. Well, not she's wealthy, they're a wealthy Boston family, but poor in quality in terms of being a mother, and a good daughter. And it's laid on pretty thick. But you know what? That actress, like, toe-to-toe with Bette Davis, there's some good stuff in there, and that is where the film succeeds, and that is the part of the film that I think people will be revisiting many, many years from now. Scenes from the 40s like that. Bette Davis. So, the supplements here in Now Voyager, there's a good essay in here, and first of all, I've talked about this in other videos, but I absolutely love this packaging. I love how we see the charisma, the star power, the presence, and the booklet really is great too if you haven't got the Criterion version, but there is a good piece of writing here in this booklet. We have The Stars by Patricia White, which, by the way, I don't like that line. I don't like that line at the end, but I do like the title there of the essay. Later, let me go back here. So this is referring to the scene where she gets caught on the boat. For example, okay, an early flashback functions as a primal scene of maternal prohibition, the teenage Charlotte is ordered to give up a shipboard dalliance. And later, catching a glimpse of her glamorous reflection, and this part right here, this is stuck with me. Charlotte says aloud, "He wishes he understood me," implying that the more pressing enigma is knowing herself. And the ferocity of this character's inner life melds perfectly with the conviction of David's performance, knowing herself, to thyself be true. She's the goddess of this picture. She is the epicenter of all of its emotions and everything we care about. It's funny, there's even a line later on from Claude Rains where he kind of jokes around about how, you know what, I might be like God, but I wish I hadn't given so much free will. In the film, it kind of dances around the idea of a woman being more than just a merry little homemaker. Even when she is finally something of a mother with the young girl who's supposed to be a little bit like her, what are they doing? They're outside doing guy stuff, typical guy stuff. I'm using that, to make a point there, but they're playing tennis, right? The whole thing is so coy with our emotions, and I cannot believe the norms that this must have shattered back in the 40s. I hear it said sometimes that we don't have stars anymore. We have content, we have products, like we have a Marvel brand and the stars can be interchangeably, shoved in and out of each Marvel movie or whatever, or each franchise. I don't actually know if that's true. I think that our star power has changed. I think it has evolved to short content, to YouTube clips, to TikTok, to flash in the pan politicians and so forth. But Bette Davis is timeless. She is the Medusa of the screen. And when this film allows her to explore womanhood in all of its glory, it is really good. Her emotions, there was one specific scene toward the end that I watched where she had this certain look, and I've seen women give it to other women, friends of mine, and it's so distinct and so specific, and she could just do it in a flash with a single twitch of the eye, and that is the power of Bette Davis. That is the power of many great actresses of that time, Jean Tierney, Barbara Stanwyck, Joan Crawford. Like, they had it. They had the rids, and they could sell something like this that was this melodramatic and this sappy. Notice I haven't talked much about the love interests. They don't matter much. They're there. They feel to me that like they're there because the studio wanted some of this to be romantic. I mean, how do you market a picture about a mother and a daughter yelling at each other until the mother eventually dies of some kind of a heart attack? How do you market this sort of like wealth inequality and how it puts pressure on the daughter to keep up that facade because rich people care more about the image of their future than they do about the present of those around them? I don't know how you market any of that. You know what you do? You slop some romance in there. You throw it on the screen and there you go. I guess that's what you do. It's a good film in that way, in the fact that Bette Davis holds it together. And Claude Rains does give a good performance there as well. The rest of it I didn't care about, but those are the things that really I pulled out from this. I pulled out the same character that James Stewart played, who's meekly grabbing the gun in The Man Who Shot Liberty Valance, who eventually becomes a great politician or force, much like in this movie, Bette Davis eventually becomes what she wants to be, the best version of herself. And that is my analysis of this film and the thoughts that surrounded it for me. So what do you think? There's a lot of ground I didn't cover here concerning the film. A lot of different ways you can go with this, a lot of different interpretations. I would love to hear this from you. Or other thoughts about other Bette Davis movies. I haven't watched another one since many years ago. There was some Humphrey Bogart picture she was in, and I can't think of it off the top of my head. But if there's something that you want to say about this great actress, let me know in the comments below. If you are enjoying the content, if you want to click like, that will help the channel grow. Thank you so much for your support, and we will see you next time on Cody in the Cinema.